I've been a barber for over 20 years. In that chair of mine, I've heard everything from breakups to breakthroughs, regrets to rebirths. People come in for a shave or a cut, but sometimes they leave behind a piece of their story. And with their permission, I carry it forward. Today's story isn't mine, but it's one that cut deep. It was shared with me by a man who used to live behind high walls of glass, power, and genius. To the world, he was a billionaire scientist. But to me, as he sat quietly under the buzz of my clippers, he was just a father who almost missed the whisper that would save his life and his daughters. His name? For privacy, let's call him Adrian. What he told me unraveled like a thriller and hit like a confession. And with his blessing, I'm going to tell it to you now. Can you hear it? It's not just the rain falling outside the Seattle windows. It's the countdown to a disaster. In a high-tech mansion worth tens of millions, a place meant for peace and world-changing inventions, a whisper has just sounded. A whisper that could decide the fate of millions. That whisper comes from Anya, an 11-year-old girl, a refugee child who's seen too much of the world's cruelty, adopted by one of the planet's greatest minds, Dr. Adrian Croft. To the world, Adrian is a genius, a devoted widower on the verge of creating a gene therapy that could eradicate cancer. To the world, his life is enviable perfection. A stunning home, a stellar career, and a captivating fiancée, Cassandra Reed, who seems like the final piece to his once shattered life. But you and I both know perfection is often just a facade. Behind the loving smiles and lavish gifts, Anya, with the keen eyes of a survivor honed by observation, has seen what her brilliant foster father missed. She's noticed the glances that linger too briefly, the phone calls made in secret, and most critically, she uncovered the truth about the gift Cassandra brought into their home, a state-of-the-art smart speaker system. A seemingly harmless present, until Anya, using skills self-taught from her painful past, discovered a horrifying reality. Those speakers don't just play music, they're listening, they're recording, and they're sending every secret of her father's to some dark corner of the world. Today, we're going to peel back the layers of one of the most intricate and ruthless betrayals you'll ever witness. This isn't just a tale of corporate espionage, it's the story of an uneven battle. An 11-year-old girl alone against a powerful criminal syndicate. You'll see a genius who can unravel the deepest mysteries of DNA, yet remain blind to the deception in his own home. You'll watch loyalty sold cheap and love twisted into a weapon. And most importantly, you'll witness the moment a father finally learns to listen. The moment he realizes the most vital warning didn't come from his multi-million-dollar security system, but from the whisper of the daughter he'd unintentionally overlooked. Stay right here with me. Don't go anywhere, because in the next few minutes, we're going to journey from suspicion to fear, to outrage, and finally to a breathtaking reversal that'll leave you speechless. This story is only just beginning. The storm raging outside the window seemed to roar within Dr. Adrian Croft's mind. He sat before a bank of screens displaying intricate genetic sequences, his world narrowed to a race against time to perfect Project Nightingale. For Adrian, this wasn't just work. It was redemption, a monument to the wife he couldn't save. His focus was a fortress, solid and nearly impenetrable, shielding him from pain in the outside world, even from his foster daughter standing at the doorway. Dad, Anya's voice rose, small and nearly drowned by his typing. Adrian raised a finger, a familiar gesture without looking. Just a sec, sweetheart. But this time, Anya didn't wait. She stepped forward, her usual hesitation gone, replaced by an unusual resolve. She said nothing more, only gently tugged his sleeve. Twice. The silence of that act spoke louder than words. Adrian finally turned, a hint of irritation in his eyes. But seeing Anya's grave expression, his irritation dissolved, giving way to a vague unease. What's wrong, Anya? Without answering, she led him out of the office, through the dim hallway, and into her room. It was a different world. Instead of complex equations, Anya's room was almost sterile in its tidiness, with only a glowing tablet on her desk. He followed, feeling like he was entering foreign territory. Anya pointed at the screen. It wasn't a game or cartoon. It was a map. A terrifyingly detailed map of their home's digital network. From multiple points, living room, kitchen, even his office, red data streams flowed, merging into a single digital river heading straight to a foreign IP address. The speakers Cassandra gave us, Anya said, her voice steady but chilling. They don't play music. They're listening. Adrian, an expert in systems and data, felt a cold jolt run down his spine. Absurd. That was his first thought. His system was guarded by top-tier security layers. But data doesn't lie. Encrypted packets were bleeding out of his home like an open wound. How did you find this? He asked, his voice almost a whisper. Anya turned to him, and for the first time, Adrian didn't see a timid child but a seasoned survivor in a girl's frame. In the refugee camp, she said slowly, you had to learn who was watching you, which cameras were fake, which floorboard creak meant someone was coming. You had to read what others didn't see. The internet, it's just a bigger room, that's all. Her answer floored him. It wasn't the boast of a clever kid. It was the raw truth of a life forced to be vigilant. He'd seen Anya every day for a year, thinking he was giving her a safe haven, when she, with her survival skills, was the one guarding his safety. Show me, Adrian said, his hesitation gone, replaced by the resolve of a scientist facing a problem to solve. They returned to his office. For the first time, it wasn't just Adrian's space, it was their command center. He plugged Anya's tablet into his server system. His hands flew over the keyboard, but this time, he wasn't alone in charge. The encryption frequency is odd, he muttered. It shifts every 60 seconds, Anya replied instantly, pointing to an algorithm on her screen. But there's a pattern. They worked in silence, an unexpected harmony between his genius intellect and her sharp instincts. He ran analysis programs while she flagged anomalies he might have missed. Slowly, they peeled back the conspiracy's layers. The signal bounced through multiple proxies, but they traced the access command's origin. It wasn't from a hacker halfway across the globe. It came from within, from the place that should have been safest. No way, Adrian breathed, staring at the screen. The admin access letting those devices bypass the firewall came from an internal user, a user with top-level security clearance. Anya leaned closer, reading the name on the command line. Ben Carter, the name hung in the room's icy air. Ben Carter, head of security at Croft Institute, Adrian's best friend since college, godfather to his son had he lived, the man Adrian trusted with not just company secrets but his entire life. Betrayal, Adrian realized, wasn't a knife to the heart. It was a slow poison seeping into the blood, freezing everything from within. The problem wasn't just a fiancé with possible bad intentions. It had just grown 1,000 times bigger. The enemy wasn't at the gate. He'd been inside all along, holding the keys to every door. The name Ben Carter on the screen wasn't just text. It was a verdict, a collapse of the world Adrian Croft once knew. His entire career was built on logic, on the predictable laws of genetics and computer systems. But this betrayal was brutally illogical. His mind replayed memories, evenings watching football together, late nights when Ben stayed to patch a security flaw, the way Ben hugged him tightly at his wife's funeral and vowed to always have his back. Those moments now surfaced not as memories, but as evidence of his own blindness. Every kind act from Ben became a veil for deception. He felt Anya's small hand on his arm, a gentle touch that pulled him from the bitter spiral of nostalgia. Dad, she asked, her voice steady and pragmatic, not trembling. What do we do now? Her question was a splash of cold water. Anya wasn't dwelling on the past. She was in the present, facing the threat. He was the adult, the father, the protector. It was time to act like one. Logic returned. He couldn't go to the police. Their evidence was digital, easily erased or denied. He couldn't trust anyone at Croft Institute. If Ben betrayed him, anyone else could. They were alone, almost alone. Maria, Adrian said, the name slipping out like a reflex. At 3 a.m, the kitchen, usually warm and fragrant with coffee, became a wartime briefing room. The only light was a small lamp above the table, casting long shadows across their faces. Maria Flores, in pajamas but with a soldier's posture, sat across from Adrian and Anya. She said nothing as Adrian recounted everything, from the spying speakers to Ben's betrayal. She just listened, her sharp eyes moving from Adrian's tense face to Anya's serious one. When Adrian finished, silence fell. Maria took a sip of tea, setting the mug down deliberately. I'm not surprised, she said, her voice eerily calm. About Ms. Reed, last week I saw her in the library, not reading but staring at the house's ventilation system blueprints. She didn't look like a fiancé planning a future home. She looked like an intelligence officer studying an exit route. She turned to Anya. "And your eyes when you looked at her, little one. You've known for a while, haven't you?" Anya nodded. In that moment, an alliance was forged, not by blood, but by trust in a shared enemy. A scientist, a former soldier, and a child with a warrior's gaze. "First question," Maria said, shifting to command mode. "What do they want?" "Just money from selling Nightingale." "That's what we need to find out," Adrian replied. He glanced at Anya, who was already thinking. "They think they're spying on us," Anya said. "They're confident in their tech. What if we spied on them?" The idea was bold and dangerous, but it was their only path. They returned to the office. Guided by Anya's findings on the vulnerabilities and powered by Adrian's computer systems, they did the unthinkable, hijacked one of the listening devices. They chose the one in the garage, rarely used in a false safe space for secret talks. Then they waited. Time crawled in silence. Each tick of the clock felt like a century. Finally, near dawn, a notification flashed on the screen. The garage device had picked up audio. 2 voices. One was Cassandra's. The other, unmistakable, was Ben Carter's. "Too risky, Cassandra." Ben's voice was anxious. "They said it was just tech theft. But what you're asking, you think my syndicate paid you a fortune just for a few files, Ben?" Cassandra's voice was ice cold, stripped of sweetness. "This tech is too dangerous in someone like Adrian's hands. He'd only use it to save the rich. We'll make sure it's democratized. If there's some collateral damage along the way, that's the price of progress." "Collateral damage? You're talking about weaponizing it. I'm talking about securing the future. You took the money, Ben. You're part of this progress now. Don't go soft at the last second." The conversation ended. In the office, no one spoke. Adrian sat frozen, his face ashen. The truth was worse than he imagined. This wasn't a theft. It was a twisted crusade, and his fiancée was a fanatic ready to sacrifice millions for so-called progress. Project Nightingale, his life's work to save lives, was about to become a weapon of mass destruction. He looked at Anya. Her eyes held no fear. Instead, they burned with steel. She'd survived war. She wouldn't let another one start from her own home. "Now we know who they are and what they really want," Adrian said, his voice low, firm, and resolute. "It's time to show them who they're up against." Dawn broke over Lake Washington, casting a silver-gray sheen on the mansion's glass windows. But inside, there was no peace. The air was thick, every breath calculated. Last night, they uncovered the truth. This morning, they had to live a lie. For Adrian, it was mental torture. A man of truth and logic, he now had to play the part of a happy, unsuspecting partner. He sat across from Cassandra at breakfast, smiling as she handed him coffee, discussing plans for the upcoming Institute fundraising gala. Each word tasted like ash in his mouth. He looked at the woman he once thought he'd spend his life with, and all he saw was a stranger with a serpent's eyes. He had to keep the act going, to make her and Ben believe their secrets were still safe, their veil unlifted. But Cassandra, with a predator's instincts, sensed a shift. It wasn't overt, just a pause too long in conversation, a distant look in Adrian's eyes, the slight flinch when she touched his hand, tiny ripples on a still lake. To most, they'd mean nothing. To a trained operative, they were alarms. She grew suspicious, and her suspicions zeroed in on the one link she couldn't control, Anya. Her chance came at noon. Adrian had an urgent board meeting he couldn't skip. Ironically, one Ben Carter would attend. At the same time, Maria had to leave for a scheduled weekly supply run. The sprawling house was suddenly down to 2, the hunter and her reluctant prey. Cassandra made her move. She found Anya in the library, curled in an armchair with her tablet in her lap. "Anya, sweetie," Cassandra began, her voice dripping with false warmth. "Your dad and I are worried. You've seemed stressed lately. I think your tablet might have a virus. It could be bad for you. Hand it over, and I'll get the best expert to check it." Anya looked up, her eyes eerily calm. "Thanks, but it's working fine. Don't be stubborn, Anya. I'm just trying to help." Cassandra's smile tightened. She took a step closer. That's when the chase began. Anya knew she couldn't confront her head on. She bolted from the library. Cassandra pursued, her usual grace replaced by urgent, purposeful strides. Anya, with her intimate knowledge of the house, turned it to her advantage. She darted to the central control room, using her tablet to lock the steel door just as Cassandra lunged. The thud of Cassandra's body hitting the door was satisfying. But she didn't give up. Anya heard her trying to override the lock with a code. Time was running out. Anya scanned the room for an escape. Her eyes landed on something only she knew, an old book return chute, built by the house's previous owner, leading straight to the basement storage. Without a second's hesitation, she stuffed the tablet, their most critical evidence, into the narrow slot. It slid down silently. Moments later, the control room door burst open. Cassandra stood there, panting, her perfect hair slightly disheveled. She saw Anya alone, empty-handed. Her eyes swept the room, searching for the tablet, but found nothing. Where is it? Cassandra growled, her facade fully gone. Anya just stared back, silent. Her silence enraged Cassandra more than any defiance could. Knowing she couldn't act further without leaving evidence, Cassandra shot Anya a venomous glare and stormed out. The door slammed shut, leaving Anya alone, her heart pounding but safe, for now. When Adrian and Maria returned, they found a trembling Anya, though she tried to hide it. She recounted everything. Adrian's anger erupted, a cold fury born from the primal fear of a father whose child was threatened. He tried to stay calm, to keep up the act, but a line had been crossed. He went looking for Cassandra. He found her in the living room, calmly reading a book as if nothing had happened. "What did you do to her?" Adrian asked, his voice hoarse with rage. Cassandra looked up and instantly her face transformed. Her eyes widened, brimming with tears. She stood, the picture of hurt. "Adrian, darling," she sobbed. "I'm so worried about her. I thought her tablet was glitching. I just wanted to check it." But she screamed and ran off. Her trauma, it's making her paranoid. She thinks I'm trying to hurt her. Don't you see? She needs professional help. It was a masterful performance, a ruthless manipulation, weaponizing Adrian's love and concern for Anya against him. For a moment, he froze. Her words planted a tiny, toxic seed of doubt. Could he have trusted too much in a child with a complex past? From the top of the stairs, Anya saw it all. She saw her father standing there, looking at the weeping woman, and she caught the flicker of hesitation on his face. Her heart sank. Once again, another adult choosing a pretty lie over a hard truth. She turned, ready to walk away, accepting defeat. But then she heard her father's voice, not an angry shout, a terrifying calm. Adrian locked eyes with Cassandra's tearful gaze, but he no longer saw her. He saw through the mask to the deceit beneath. He remembered Anya's frightened face, the red data streams on the screen, her words in the dark room. The internet is just a bigger room. He had chosen. "Cassandra," he said, his voice cold as steel. "Get out of my house." Adrian's words, "Get out of my house," weren't a shout. They were a slab of ice, cold and cutting, freezing the fake smile on Cassandra's face. For a moment, the mask of the wounded woman shattered. Her teary eyes dried instantly, the softness replaced by a hollow, white, frigid stare. She didn't argue. She didn't plead. A professional operative knows when a mission has failed. She simply picked up her purse, smoothed her hair with the calm of someone wrapping up a business meeting. As she passed Adrian, she paused, her voice low enough for only him to hear. "You'll regret this, Adrian. Both of you." It wasn't a heat-of-the-moment threat. It was a promise. The door closed behind Cassandra, and a heavy silence enveloped the house. Adrian stood still, the adrenaline from the confrontation draining, leaving an emptiness. Then he heard soft footsteps. Anya was there, looking at him, her eyes holding a question she didn't need to voice. He stepped forward, knelt to her level, and did what he should have done long ago. He pulled her into a tight embrace, not as a guardian, but as a father. "I believe you," he whispered into her hair. "Always will, from now on." Cassandra's promise changed everything. Time was no longer on their side. Their alliance regrouped in the office, but the atmosphere was different now. Fear was gone, replaced by resolve. "She won't wait for the gala," Maria said, analyzing the situation with a military strategist's calm. "She knows she's exposed. They'll move immediately, maybe tonight, before we can formally alert the authorities." "You're right," Adrian agreed. He looked at Anya, who'd retrieved her tablet from the basement storage. "We need a trap." The plan came together at breakneck speed, like a perfect fusion of three minds. "They'll target Nightingale's main server," Adrian said, sketching on a large touchscreen. "We can't let them touch it. Instead, we'll give them what they want." He outlined a decoy server, a digital honeypot. It would be an identical replica packed with terabytes of fake data disguised as complete research files. Fake data alone won't cut it. Anya interjected, her eyes alight. It needs to be a Trojan horse. She began typing complex code. Every file will have my embedded script. It's more than a tracker. When Cassandra or anyone opens it to verify, the script activates. It won't just show us their location. It'll take over their entire system from the inside. A digital counterstrike. Maria nodded, impressed. While you two handle the software, I'll take care of the hardware. Ben Carter will try to disable physical security remotely. I'll stage a deliberate local power glitch lasting 90 seconds. Enough time for you, Adrian, to disconnect the real server and plug in the decoy without Ben's system noticing the switch. Night fell over Seattle, bringing the predicted storm. The house, now a fortress, was steeped in darkness and silence. The three sat in the command room, their screens the only window into the invisible war unfolding. At midnight, it began. Security monitors showed systems failing one by one. Firewalls, motion sensors, electronic locks. Ben Carter was doing his job systematically. Adrian's heart pounded. He trusted Ben to build those defenses, and now that same man was tearing them down. Then a new alert flashed. Unauthorized access detected. Cassandra was in. They tracked her path through their network. She was fast, precise, and ruthlessly professional, gliding through security layers like a phantom. Finally, she reached her target, the Project Nightingale server. A download progress bar appeared, a green line creeping across the screen. Each percentage point was like sweat rolling down Adrian's brow. They had to let her take it all. The trap would only spring when the prey swallowed the bait whole. Download complete, Anya announced, her voice eerily calm. In an unmarked van parked a few blocks away, Cassandra Reed smirked in triumph. She sent an encrypted message, package secured. To be sure, she opened a random file to verify. That's when the trap snapped shut. The moment she double-clicked, her screen froze. Then, in a horrifying instant, it went black before her own face appeared, streamed live from her laptop's camera. In the command room, Anya typed the final command. A message flashed across Cassandra's screen, obscuring her panicked face. Hello, Cassandra. Thanks for joining the beta test of our new counterintelligence system. All data on your activities, audio recordings, and current location have been securely transmitted to the FBI's Seattle office. Simultaneously, Anya's code gave Adrian full control. He activated the van's microphone, capturing Cassandra's curses and frantic calls to Ben. But it was too late. On the other end, Ben Carter didn't answer. He was busy with FBI agents storming his apartment, guided by the data packet Adrian sent the moment the trap was sprung. Sirens grew louder. Cassandra was caged in her own tech, betrayed by the tools she'd used to betray others. In the office, the tension finally broke. Adrian pulled Anya into a fierce hug, one of relief and pride. Maria placed a steady hand on his shoulder. They hadn't just protected a tech secret, they protected their family. The war was over. And then the storm passed. Not just the storm outside Seattle's windows, but the one that had ravaged their lives for weeks. After that fateful night, everything moved at a dizzying but orderly pace. The irrefutable digital evidence Adrian and Anya gathered became the backbone of the FBI's case. Ben Carter, facing decades in prison, chose to cooperate, exposing the entire network of the rival pharmaceutical syndicate. Cassandra Reed, true to her nature, remained defiantly silent to the end, facing a slew of charges from industrial espionage to conspiring to endanger national security. The press called it one of the biggest corporate espionage cases in history. But for Adrian, it was just distant noise. His real battle ended the night he chose to trust his daughter's whisper. 6 months later, they stood in a different room. Not a high-tech command center, but a quiet courtroom. There was no tension, only a sense of solemnity. The judge smiled and stamped the final document. Anya officially became Anya Croft. Maria Flores, standing behind them, quietly wiped a tear. Adrian looked at the adoption certificate in his hands. It was just paper and ink. Their true family had been forged in fire, mended by trust, and proven by action. This paper simply let the world know what the three of them had long understood. The biggest change wasn't on paper, but within Adrian. He'd once been a man who measured success by patents and stock prices. But the crisis taught him a different lesson. Weeks after the adoption was finalized, Adrian called a press conference at Croft Institute, drawing the attention of the entire tech and medical world. He stepped to the podium, not as a CEO, but as a father and a scientist with a conscience. He announced he'd step back from day-to-day operations. More crucially, he declared that Project Nightingale would be placed under the oversight of an independent international ethics board to ensure it would only save lives, never be weaponized. But his final announcement was the one that shook the room. The past experience taught me that talent and wisdom can come from the most unexpected places, he said, his gaze settling on Anya, seated in the front row with Maria. It can come from a child who had to learn to protect herself in the harshest circumstances. To honor that courage and insight, today, I'm announcing the creation of the Anya Foundation. He explained that the Anya Foundation would have a singular mission: to find, sponsor, and nurture young talent from unique backgrounds worldwide, especially refugee and orphan children gifted in technology. The foundation would offer not just scholarships, but a safe space to thrive, a place where their whispers would be heard and valued. Anya sat there quietly watching her father. This time, the tears rolling down her cheeks weren't from fear or sadness, but from an overwhelming joy and pride, a profound acknowledgement that her past pain would now be a beacon of hope for others. 1 year later, the house by Lake Washington was truly a home now. Laughter often echoed through its halls. Adrian had learned to leave his office by 5 o'clock. He and Anya had a new project: building an open-source cybersecurity system for nonprofits, the first product of the Anya Foundation. Maria was still there, no longer just a housekeeper, but an indispensable family member, ensuring the two genius minds in the house remembered to eat dinner on time. One evening, as they reviewed project designs together, Anya suddenly asked, "Do you ever miss the old life, Dad? When things were simpler?" Adrian set down his tool, turned his chair, and looked at his daughter, now confident and radiant. "The old life wasn't simpler, sweetheart. It was emptier." He paused, choosing his words. "I thought strength meant building high walls so no one could hurt me. I built them around my work, around my heart. But you taught me a more important lesson." "What lesson?" she asked. "That real strength isn't about building walls. Real strength is having the courage to lower them for the right person." He smiled, a warm, genuine smile. "Thank you, Anya. Thank you for teaching me to listen." Outside, night fell, but inside, the house glowed. 3 souls, 3 different paths, bound by a storm. They'd weathered it together, not just surviving, but finding something more valuable than any technology or wealth. They'd found each other. And in this complex world, that was the greatest achievement.